has another great title in his speech. Again, it really piqued my interest when I read that. It's like, I want to know more about this. I thought it was a wonderful title. I know that when Stan arrives at the lectern, that you will share with us some really heartfelt thoughts and feelings that you have. And I know that today you will illuminate your topic with that same heartfelt thoughts and feelings. We all have a story to tell. We all tell ourselves our personal narrative over and over again in our minds. Some stories are edifying, and others are destructive. But either way, they are our stories to tell. Nobody else gets to tell the story, you tell yourself. Stan will tell us a story that changed the narrative he was telling about himself, and how that determined a happy outcome. Please join me in welcoming Stan for his speech, Tell the Story That Changed the Ending.
If you've ever ridden Christine Anderson between Stillicum and Anderson Island, you'll see the story on like music. You'll see this story posted, framed on the wall on the ferry, about a heroic rescue of a kayaker. And a kayaker was me. But I mean, the bottom line is, I survived. I wouldn't be here to tell the story. But that's only half the story. And this is the rest of the story. I have a book of remembrance that's been both a blessing and a curse in my life, because it's filled with heroic stories of my ancestors that have always been my heroes. I've always felt an obligation to add to that book my story, and for it to be edifying for future generations, the way their stories have edified me and enlightened me and nurtured me throughout my life. So this is a story I've added to that book, and there are many more that I'll continue to add. It was June 16th, 2008. Started out as a beautiful day for a kayak ride, paddle over to see my sister on Anderson Island. My sister was taking care of our kids. They were over there, Mary, my twin sister. And she was over there with her son Connor and my nieces, two other nieces. And as I got out on the water, it was a little rough, but it was okay. And as I got further out, it was really kind of kayaking for me is, and any time I'm outdoors, it's really a spiritual adventure for me every time. And as I looked down on the green water, I could see the shore moving away, getting deeper and deeper. Thought about how much life was underneath me. It's just so thick with life. It looks like pea soup and so rich. And I continued on and thinking about paddling, and the waves started to be like whoop-de-doos. I was thinking like I was skiing, and get up on top of it, and come down the valley, keep going. And as I kept paddling, it got rougher and rougher, but I figured I was too far away from shore to turn back, so I just decided to keep going. And as I kept going, I could see Mount Rainier out there. It was just gorgeous, and kind of like this water, a little rougher than this. The waves started turning into whitecaps, and I saw seals popping up around me. They remind me of Labrador retrievers, the way they pop up and look around. It's right next to my kayak. They're looking at me like, "What are you doing out here in my element?" You know? And I'm the only one out there, and there's nobody else out there. And I kept going, and as I came across McNeil Island, I looked up at the penitentiary, and I thought about those people in the penitentiary, locked up, you know, and the contrast between me and them. And I was totally free out on this water and having fun and having this spiritual experience, and here they're incarcerated. And I saw this eagle up above me. And it really struck me. I just waved my arms. I just said, freedom. And it was just a wonderful feeling. I'll never forget it. Even though the waves were like getting bigger and bigger, and as I got in between McNeil and Anderson Island, they were huge, and I don't know, all hell broke loose, and the wind was blowing, and these waves were 3-foot swells, and they were washing over my boat, and water was coming into my boat, and I had a pump, and I was trying to pump, but I couldn't pump because I would get capsized and roll over, and I had to keep my balance with my paddles, and I was fighting these waves, and pretty soon I could see that my bow was up, raised up, and I looked behind me, and the stern was underwater, and my boat was filling up, and filled up. Next thing I knew, I'm underwater, and it was freezing, and I knew I had 45 minutes to live, and I was too far from shore to swim, and my pump had disappeared. It was at the bottom of Puget Sound, and my boat was full of water. I couldn't get it back up, and I had a cell phone on me, and I pulled it out, and the first thing I thought of was calling Mary, and I called her. And I said, Mary, I'm in the water. I've got 45 minutes to live. Call 911, call the ferry dock, call everybody, and tell them to get that ferry to stop and pick me up. I see us coming. And I said, I love you. And she said, I love you. Both of us knowing those could have been the last words we spoke to each other. And I waited and waited and waited. And I got colder and colder and colder. And as the ferry came, I waved my paddle, I whistled, I tried to make as much noise as I could, but they were too far away, and they just kept going right past me. And when I realized that they weren't going to stop, my heart sank, because I knew I was running out of time. And I said, really? You're just going to leave me out here to die? Really? And I thought about it. It's too far from shore. Nobody's going to come rescue me. And I faced my death. I accepted the fact that I was going to die right there. I was going to sink down in the water and just go to sleep and die. And I was okay with it. I was okay. I was at peace. I figured I had done what I needed to do, and I figured I was just going to die. And then I thought about my sister standing on the shore, and my daughter, and my son, my nieces and nephews. And I thought, I can't do this. This is not how this ends. And this rush of adrenaline went through me, and I said, I can't let their story end this way. And I just decided to fight, or at least die trying to get to shore. And I started fighting, just punching the water, just swimming as hard as I could. And I kept my body up on top of the water. It was quite a bit warmer. And I kept swimming to get towards shore. I knew I was too far away. I looked over my shoulder, and I saw the ferry had stopped, and it looked like they were coming back. And so I thought, wow, okay, great. I guess, I might make it. And so I swam back toward the ferry, and they threw a ladder out over the edge of the ferry. And by this time, my legs were dead. I couldn't use my legs. I just had my arms. And it was hard. And when I got to the edge of the boat, there's a ladder. I had to use my arms to pull myself up because my legs didn't work. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. When I got to the top of the ladder, I grabbed the dock hand. I said, don't let go. He said, I want you to go. And he pulled me up. And I got on the boat, and everybody clapped and cheered. Everybody on the boat was there. And they came and gave me blankets and a cell phone to call my sister. Mine was Toast. And let her know I was okay. And they took me in, and we got on the paramedics came in to check my vitals, and they said, how long were you in the water? And I said, I don't know, what time? They seemed like forever. And they said, well, they told me the time, and I said, I was in the water for 15 minutes. And they said, yeah, that's when you're hot, from your core temperature is very low. And they didn't know how I survived. And I knew how I survived. It was changing the story in my head that I'm going to die, that I'm going to survive. And that rush of adrenaline came through my body and warmed me up and gave me energy to fight. And I saw my daughter and my son standing there on the dock. And my daughter broke through the line and started running up towards me. see the deckhand saying, no, no, you can't go. And she said, that's my dad. And she took off running, came up the stairs, and she gave me a hug. And it was the warmest embrace I've ever had in my life. I'll never forget that. And as I stand here today, I love that shore. I love that image of the green earth where I came to rest. And Anna's Island, I love. It's a beautiful place. And I think about all the experiences. I think about the love of my children, the love of my wife, and the love of my twin sister and my little nephew, and the love of my whole family. And all the experiences that I've had since then, each one of them is precious to me. Each moment is like a gift. And I think about the love. Saved my life. I wouldn't be here without your love for me. Thank you.